Let me ask you something. How many times have you let someone ruin your day this week? A rude stranger, an annoying coworker, or that one friend who just knows how to push your buttons? Don't lie, I know it's happened. But here's the thing, what if I told you that you could become unshakable, like Jedi-level calm, where no one can even scratch your vibe? Sounds impossible, right? Well, stick around, because I'm about to give you brutally honest, sometimes controversial, but hilariously effective ways to never get angry or bothered by anyone again. Warning, this might just change your life, or at least make you a lot harder to annoy. But before we begin, please like and subscribe to this channel, and comment down your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's go. 1. Limit exposure to toxic people. Let's get real. If someone's toxic, they don't deserve unrestricted access to your life, period. This might ruffle some feathers, but hear me out. Just because someone has a title like friend, partner, or even family doesn't mean they get a golden ticket to mess with your peace of mind. Some people are so draining that being around them feels like sitting in a car with the windows rolled up while they smoke emotional cigarettes, and you're just there inhaling it now. Before we dive deep, let's address the elephant in the room. What about family? Isn't it taboo to distance yourself from parents, siblings, or cousins who've always been there? Newsflash: family is supposed to love and support you, not emotionally blackmail you or use guilt trips as currency. And if they're doing the latter, guess what? You're not obligated to stick around just because you shared in. Let me tell you a story. Back in college, I had a friend. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah had a gift for drama. She couldn't go 24 hours without stirring up a fight with her boyfriend, ranting about some imaginary slight from a professor, or spreading gossip like it was her full-time job. At first, I thought, well, that's just Sarah, she's a little extra. But it's harmless. Spoiler alert, it wasn't harmless. After a while, I noticed that every conversation with Sarah revolved around her problems, her enemies, her endless parade of crises. And me, I was basically an unpaid therapist. I started dreading her calls. And hanging out with her felt like emotional labor. But because I'm a people pleaser recovering, but still working on it, I stuck around longer than I should have. Then came the breaking point. One night, she called me at 2 a.m. crying, yelling the whole production, because her boyfriend didn't text her back. I tried to comfort her, but she cut me off and snapped, "You don't even care." That was it. I hung up, stared at my ceiling, and thought, why am I doing this to myself? The next day, I decided to limit my time with Sarah. No big confrontation, no dramatic exit. I just stopped being so available. I let her calls go to voicemail, replied to her texts hours later, and politely declined hangouts. And you know what happened? Nothing. She didn't notice at first because she was so wrapped up in her own drama. But eventually she moved on to someone else who'd play the role of her emotional punching bag. And me, I got my peace back. Here's the controversial part. A lot of us choose to keep toxic people in our lives. Why guilt? You think I can't just abandon them? They need me. News flash, you're not their therapist. Obligation? Maybe it's family, and you've been conditioned to think cutting them off is cruel. Fear of conflict, you don't want to rock the boat, so you endure their nonsense to keep the peace. Low standards, you've been putting up with it for so long that it feels normal. Let me hit you with a hard truth. Guilt and obligation are not reasons to let someone destroy your peace. And as for conflict, there's a way to set boundaries without blowing up relationships. When it's time to limit exposure to a toxic person, you don't need a dramatic breakup speech. This isn't reality TV. Instead, be less available. Start saying no more often. Let their calls go unanswered once in a while. Don't justify yourself. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your mental health. Shift the dynamic. If you have to interact like with a coworker, keep things professional and brief. Don't engage in their drama. And if they ask why you're pulling back, you can be honest without being cruel. Try something like, I've been focusing on my own priorities lately. I don't have as much bandwidth for other things right now. It's polite, but it sets a boundary. Now let's talk family, because this is where things get tricky. What do you do when the toxic person is your parent, sibling, or spouse? Cutting them off completely might not be an option, but you can still limit their impact on your life. Set clear boundaries. If your mom constantly criticizes your choices, let her know, I love you, but I'm not okay with these kinds of comments. Let's change the subject. Control your time. Visit less often, or keep phone calls short. If you're dreading thanks giving, make a polite excuse to leave early. Stand your ground. Toxic family members often test your boundaries. Stay firm. It gets easier with practice. Remember, setting boundaries with family isn't an act of betrayal, it's an act of self-preservation. Here's the truth. Toxic people thrive on access. They need your time, your reactions, your energy. Limiting that access isn't cruel, it's an act of self-respect. And you know what? You're not a bad person for putting yourself first. Think of it this way, your mental health is like a garden. Toxic people are weeds. If you don't pull them out, or at least contain them, they'll choke out everything good in your life. Flowers can't bloom in a garden full of weeds. But here's the flip side. Sometimes you might be the weed in someone else's garden. Yeah. I said it, we've all had moments where we've been selfish, dramatic, or draining. If you notice people pulling away from you, take it as an opportunity to reflect and grow. Life is too short to spend it with people who drain your energy, disrespect your boundaries, or make you feel small. Whether it's a friend, coworker, or family member, you have the right to protect your peace. So start cutting back on time with toxic people. Do it quietly, do it confidently, and don't look back. You deserve relationships that uplift you, not ones that weigh you down. Going on and on about how he deserved credit for a project he barely contributed to. I thought, this guy isn't malicious. He's just emotionally underdeveloped. From that day forward, I started treating Kevin like a toddler. When he complained, I nodded and said, "Oh, that's interesting," like you would to a kid telling you about their imaginary dragon. When he threw blame around, I stayed calm and redirected the conversation, just like you'd distract a toddler with a shiny object. And when he demanded attention, I gave him just enough to satisfy him without feeding his ego. Guess what? It worked. Kevin's antics stopped bothering me because I wasn't taking them personally anymore. And without my reactions fueling the fire, he toned it down, at least around me. Here's where people might get mad. Treating annoying adults like toddlers can feel condescending. But is it really? Think about it. If someone's behavior is childish, isn't it logical to respond in a way that works with children? Plus, this approach isn't about belittling them. It's about preserving your peace. Let's face it, you can't reason with someone who's deep in their emotional immaturity. Trying to argue with them is like debating with a toddler about bedtime. It's a losing battle. Instead, meet them where they are emotionally. Here are some practical steps to implement this mindset. Don't take the bait. Just like you wouldn't argue with a toddler screaming, "I want candy." Don't engage when someone's being irrational. Smile, nod, and move on. Redirect their energy. If they're ranting about something petty, change the subject. "Oh, I hear you. By the way, did you see the new coffee machine in the break room?" Stay calm and neutral. Toddlers feed off reactions, and so do annoying people. Keep your tone even and don't give them the emotional response they're fishing for. Use humor when appropriate. Diffuse their behavior with light-hearted humor. For example, if someone's complaining about something trivial, say, "Wow, this sounds like a real crisis." Bonus points if you deliver it with a straight face. Set boundaries. Toddlers need structure, and so do emotionally immature adults. If someone's being unreasonable, let them know where your boundaries are, and stick to them. Here's the deeper truth. When someone's being annoying, it's rarely about you, it's about them. Just like a toddler throwing a tantrum isn't personally attacking you, an adult acting out is usually projecting their own issues. Recognizing this makes it easier to respond with empathy instead of anger. This approach doesn't mean tolerating bad behavior. It means reframing how you see it. Instead of thinking, "Why are they doing this to me?" think, "What's going on with them that they're acting this way?" That subtle shift in perspective can change everything. When I started treating annoying people like toddlers, I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. Instead of getting angry, I started seeing their behavior as a reflection of their inner struggles, not a reflection of me. And once you realize that, it's hard to take anything they do personally. So the next time someone's driving you up the wall, try this. Picture them as a tiny toddler, wearing a diaper and stomping their little feet. I promise, it's hard to stay mad when you're mentally handing someone a juice box and telling them to sit in timeout. Because at the end of the day, staying unbothered isn't about changing other people. It's about changing how you see them. And if that means treating them like toddlers, so be it. Your peace is worth it. Say, "Okay," to everything. Here's a radical suggestion. Start saying okay to almost everything life throws at you. No, I'm not saying you should become a doormat or let people walk all over you. I'm talking about embracing a calm, unshakable, Zen master level of detachment. The next time someone says or does something annoying, upsetting, or downright ridiculous, just hit them with a simple okay. It's the emotional equivalent of putting your phone on Do Not Disturb. Let's face it, most people thrive on reactions. They want your outrage, your indignation, your energy. And when you give it to them, guess what? You're handing over your power. But when you respond with okay, you're doing something revolutionary. You're refusing to engage. Think about it. Someone insults you. Say okay. Let them stew in their own negativity while you stay cool as a cucumber. Someone criticizes your choices. Okay. It's not your job to explain your life to anyone. Someone tries to drag you into drama. Okay. And just like that, you're out of the chaos. It's not surrender, it's strategy. You're refusing to let someone else dictate your emotional state. Let me share a story. I have an aunt, let's call her Linda, who thrives on drama. Family gatherings, a circus of passive-aggressive comments. Holidays, a parade of woe-is-me stories. One year at Thanksgiving, Linda decided to critique my career, my relationship, and even the way I carved the turkey. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, ready to fire back. But then I stopped. Instead of defending myself, I looked her straight in the eye and said, okay, that's it. Just okay. You know what happened? She blinked, confused, then moved on to her next target. I diffused her without lifting a finger, and for the first time in years, I actually enjoyed the rest of the evening. From that moment on, okay became my secret weapon. Every time Linda tried to stir up drama, I gave her the same calm, unbothered response. Eventually, she stopped coming for me altogether, probably because I was no longer giving her the reaction she craved. Be unavailable. The best way to protect your peace. Be unapologetically unavailable. Not just physically, but emotionally and mentally, too. Stop being the person who's always ready to pick up the phone, respond to every text within seconds, or drop everything to help someone else. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is, "Sorry, I'm not available for this." And here's the kicker. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Think about how many times you felt drained because you were too available. You said yes to plans you didn't want to make. You listened to someone vent for hours about problems they didn't want to solve. You got pulled into drama you didn't create. And for what? When you're always available, people start to see you as a resource instead of a person. Here's the deeper truth. If you're always available to others, you're never fully available to yourself. So next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, do I actually want to do this? If the answer is no, don't hesitate to be unavailable. Final thoughts. Staying unbothered isn't about shutting people out or being cold. It's about prioritizing your peace. At the end of the day, life is too short to let someone else's bad mood, bad day, or bad decisions ruin yours. So here's your challenge. The next time someone tries to get under your skin, pause. Take a deep breath. And remember, you have tools to stay unshakable. Your peace is your power. Protect it. Cultivate it. Live it. Thanks for watching. Stay chill, my friends.